So in our last lesson, we talked about how to recognize the parts of an action sentence in Arabic, right? So in English, what were we relying on?
Meaning and sequence.
Meaning and sequence. In Arabic, what was our method for each? So we said about action.
It is always the first thing in the sentence.
It's always first, and that's the one place we can rely on sequence, right? But then what did we say about doer receiver? The sequence is interchangeable, so what do we have to rely on in order to find out what our doer is and what a receiver is in an action sentence?
Or look at their name tags.
Where we look at the tags which go on
the ends of the words.
The ends of the words, right? So our tags for the doer were, have them memorized?
Un, ani, una, atun.
Good. Un, ani, una, atun. If you see any of these labels at the end of a word, we know we're looking at our doer. And then our tags for receiver were?
An, aini, ina, atin.
Good. I see you have them memorized. An, aini, ina, atin. And why do we have 4 labels for each type?
So because it depends on the number and sometimes gender of the doer or the receiver.
Good. So the label will change depending on the number and gender. And then standard means singular, right?
No, standard is neutral. That's why we call it standard, right?
Right. Standard is neutral. And then how are we going to find out whether it's feminine, masculine, singular, plural?
Just by knowing our vocabulary.
By knowing our vocab, right? By knowing our vocab. So last time we did some label practice. You ready to look at some real sentences?
Yes.
Full sentences?
Yes.
Okay, let's see how this plays out. So first sentence we're going to be looking at Arsalallahu Rasulan. So help me work through this. What are my steps? How do I think through this? I don't know where to start.
Well, we know that action is always first.
Action is always first, right? So our action in this sentence is going to be
Arsala.
Arsala, right? Arsala. And then what do I do from here?
Then I look at my labels.
Right, we're going to look at our labels to figure out what's doer, what's receiver. Okay.
So Allah, there's a u at the end.
Which tells us
doer, that's a doer label.
Yeah, the u is a doer label, so we found our doer. And then?
Rasulan, N was a receiver label.
Good, N was a receiver label, so Rasulan is a?
Receiver.
Receiver. Simple as that.
Okay.
Right, your action comes first. For the rest of the words, you look at your labels. So arsala means to send. And then Allah is our doer. Rasulan is our receiver, so it translates as Allah sent a prophet.
But in Arabic, we have the action and then the doer and then the receiver.
Right.
But then that's not how we translated it.
Right, because remember when we looked at the English sentences, we were saying English sentences always appear in a specific sequence, right? English action sentences always appear in a specific sequence, which is?
Doer, action, receiver.
Doer, action, receiver, right? So when you're translating, you need your translation to sound natural, right?
Oh.
In the language you're translating in. So you're always going to start with your doer, then your action, then your receiver.
Okay.
So don't think too much about what the sequence is in Arabic, right? Think about what the natural sequence is in English, right? So when translating an action sentence, always start with the doer, then the action, then the receiver, because that is the standard order in English.
Okay.
Make sense?
So we want it to sound good in English. So
Right.
that's why we translate it that way.
Right. Right. You can't say sent Allah a prophet. That won't make sense.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So don't get too stuck trying to maintain the order of the Arabic. Think of what's natural in English.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at one more. قرأ المسلمون آيات. Help me work through this.
So قرأ is going to be our action because we always start with an action.
Good, we know the action always comes first.
And then muslimuna has a at the end. Okay, no, we have to look at the full ending.
Remember, yeah, look at the full ending.
So una is our ending.
Yeah, we have the una ending, which is a what kind of ending?
Un, ani, una, atun, doer.
That's a doer label, right? It's a doer label.
Okay.
And then?
Ayatin has the atin. We have to look at the full ending.
Right.
And that is a receiver label.
Receiver label, right? It's the receiver label. Good. So we're going to translate in what order?
Doer, action, receiver.
Doer, action, receiver. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to the label. We said una is a doer label, but specifically what kind of label?
It was plural.
Yeah, it's the plural label, right? So when you translate your doer, make sure you translate it as plural. So we're going to say the
Muslims.
Muslims, right? The Muslims, we're translating our doer in plural. And then qara'a means read.
Okay.
Right? And then what can you tell me about the ayatin label?
Atin is feminine plural.
It's the feminine plural, right? So how are we going to translate that?
Feminine verses?
Feminine verses. So the atun label can be used as a feminine plural, or it can be used for inanimate objects.
Oh, right.
So if it's an inanimate object, then you don't have to highlight the fact that it's feminine. Just make it plural.
Okay.
So an ayah is a verse or a sign. So ayat will be
verses,
right? So the Muslims read verses. We have our doer, we have our action, we have our receiver, and you remember to incorporate the number and gender when you're translating.
Got it.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.